Okay, so welcome to my front porch once again. As you can see, I've got a giant cauldron here and a bunch of apples and an apple butter stir. And then behind me I've got an apple cider press. So it grinds up the apples and then you can press the apples into apple cider. And my outfit today is in honor of Johnny Appleseed. So I live here in Lisbon, Ohio, and we have the Johnny Appleseed Festival every year. And I play the part as Johnny Appleseed for that festival. And today's video is in honor of Johnny Appleseed because, you know, back in his days, apples weren't always this great, big, delicious looking apple. You know, in those days before, now they were doing grafting and things then, but we've really went a long ways in the last 100 years or 150 or 200 years as Johnny Appleseed's days. In developing apples that are bigger and more appealing to the eye. But you know, these small apples, they have worth. In honor of Johnny Appleseed, we're not working with the big, giant, delicious apples today. We are going to work with these little apples, and you know, some of these, they call them dinks. They're really not good for much of anything other than making apple cider. So today what we are going to do is we are going to make apple cider syrup. So that would start out by grinding the apples down, pressing the apples into apple cider, and then I'll put this giant cauldron in my fireplace, keep a nice low fire underneath of it all day, stirring it occasionally, and I will make that apple cider into apple syrup. We're basically just going to evaporate all the water away from it until I have nothing left but the sugars and the flavor of those apples locked into that syrup. And then I can use that syrup for the rest of the year as pancake syrup or whatever I want to sweet, you know, put it over top of some ice cream. You know, it basically tastes like apple pie at that point with ice cream. So anyway, that's the goal for today. So without any more delay, let's get to grinding some apples. Okay, the first thing I need to do is get the apples ground down so that I can then press them. So let's just get on to it. Basically, you just turn this handle. There's a set of blades in there that chops that apple into a bunch of pieces, and it'll come flowing out the bottom. Slide this over. Okay, so I've got enough in the pot now to get it started. The one thing you want to remember is that you never want to build a fire underneath the copper pot before it's got liquid in it, because if you do, you'll melt the solder out of the seam on the bottom. So anyway, it's time to build a fire. You'll notice the Johnny Appleseed costume's gone. I think in honor of Johnny Appleseed as well, you don't want to, you know, he didn't wear that costume or that outfit of his all the time. The rags for clothes, I earned these honestly, so they get to stay, but it's getting a little too warm out to have a pot on my head and long sleeve shirts. So I'm going to build a fire. We're going to start cooking this down. I still have a lot to press out there, so but I can get it started, get it warmed up, continue to add to it, and before you know it, we'll have some apple syrup. Okay. Got a little fire fire started. Now to keep it going. The problem is that cauldron will rob the heat from that fire until it starts to warm up. Okay, that is the last pail. My guess is I got about 15 gallon, which should give me 30 cups, so almost 2 gallons, if my math is right. Okay, unlike apple butter that needs constant stirring, when you're making apple syrup, you just need to stir it every once in a while. So after many of hours in front of the fireplace stirring, I finally have 2 gallons, as I thought, 2 gallons of apple syrup. And I'll have to admit, I tasted it quite a few times as I was cooking it down, and it's got a punch. I mean, I'm gonna say a couple drops of this is equivalent to a whole apple. So I'm gonna put a little bit on some ice cream and give you my honest opinion of what I think of it. But I do know that it's strong. So anyway, let's just give it a shot. And I'm going to make a little mess on the table, but it cleans up, right? Let's just see what it tastes like. I love the combination of apple and ice cream. I did not add any cinnamon to it. I know you can. But I didn't because I figured if I wanted cinnamon, I could always add it in the future. So let's just see what it tastes like. It's really good. I don't know that I would want to go much more than that. Maybe I would. It's actually pretty good. When I was making it, I was thinking more like a pancake syrup, but if you did, it would have to be used just a little bit. But for on ice cream, it's really good. That's a keeper. I'd do it again. I won't need to for quite some time though. So anyway, thanks for coming along. Probably time-wise, in the fireplace, that was 5 bushels of apples. 5 bushels of apples cooked down. Probably took me close to 10 hours to cook it all the way down to condense it into what you see here. So a lot of time, a lot of effort. Was it worth it? By today's standards, when I can go to the store and grab a bottle of syrup or a bottle of topping for $2 or $3, maybe not. Back in the days of our ancestors, when a sweet snack was not available, a little bit of that on a pancake or something, I think that would be quite the treat in those days. So in that regard, I think it was definitely worth it. So anyway, thanks for coming along. I will see you on the next show, whatever it might be. I'm really not sure. See you then.